Hello, my name is Erica Johnson, and today I will be discussing the underlying environmental ethics of the United States government that fuel the overarching federal policies and management decisions for environmental sustainability ethics. This presentation is in conjunction with the EVSP508 Environmental Ethics course taught by Professor Jennifer Rivers Cole. I will cover the primary federal organizations responsible for developing sustainable practice policies, specific policies tied to environmental sustainability, and the underlying ethics behind those policies. Some of the primary federal organizations responsible for environmental sustainability include the Department of Agriculture, Department of Commerce, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Department of the Interior. The U.S. Department of Agriculture promotes environmental sustainability through conservation compliance, the Conservation Reserve Program, and the Conservation Stewardship Program. It also manages the Environmental Quality Incentives Program, Agricultural Conservation Easement Program, and several additional conservation programs. Furthermore, the USDA coordinated the framework for the regulation of biotechnology, manages the National Organic Program, and is responsible for the Lacey Act. The Department of Commerce is responsible for the Magnuson-Stevens Fishery Conservation and Management Act. This is the primary law that governs marine fisheries management in federal waters. The EPA manages the Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, Renewable Fuel Standard and Biofuels Policy, and the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act. It is also responsible for the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, also known as RCRA, and the Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act, also known as CERCLA. And it also manages the Pollution Prevention Act. Finally, the Department of the Interior manages programs under the Endangered Species Act as well as the Marine Mammal Protection Act. While all of those policies play an important role in promoting and ensuring environmental sustainability within the United States, the National Environmental Policy Act, also known as NEPA, is the most broad and over-encompassing legislation regarding environmental issues. NEPA was signed into law in 1970 and requires all federal agencies to conduct environmental assessments on proposed action prior to decision making. Title I of the NEPA requires the federal government to use all possible and practical means to both create and maintain conditions where humans and nature can exist in productive harmony. As there is no specific federal agency required to manage NEPA, federal agencies must work together at the federal, state, and tribal or local agency to ensure compliance with the National Environmental Policy Act. Environmental ethics in the United States is constantly evolving, and approaches to sustainability vary from anthropocentric to individualistic, utilitarian, deontological, and contractual. Some argue that environmental ethics in the U.S. is creating a foothold by branching off the rights of the individual. However, policies and regulations surrounding environmental sustainability stem from human welfare needs rather than the needs of the environment or nature. Non-anthropocenic values are rarely implemented into the national policy framework, which may be attributed to the difficulty in establishing a solid theory on the values of nature. As seen in the multitude of federal, state, and local agencies, coupled with a multitude of laws, policies, and regulations, the bureaucratic layers and complexities of the existing programs make it that much more difficult to develop and implement effective sustainable practices. A perfect example of this is seen in how soil is protected across the lands in the United States. The USDA is responsible for the National Cooperative Soil Survey Program. The USDA places soil into two categories: land capability and prime farmland. The land capability categorization system places land into classes based off their suitability for raising crops, pasture or rangeland, wildlife, or non-agricultural purposes. The USDA prime farmland designation categorizes land based off physical and morphological characteristics that would be best suitable for the production of row crops. Soil is evaluated for its productivity, erodibility, vulnerability, and comprehensive soil quality. The USDA defines soil quality as the capacity of a specific kind of soil to function within natural or managed ecosystem boundaries, to sustain plant and animal productivity, maintain or enhance water and air quality, and support human health and habitation. A serious point of contention when it comes to soil standards is the relationship between the FRRCC, which is the Farm, Ranch, and Rural Communities Committee, and the EPA, where the FRRCC does not want the EPA to have any regulatory role over ranchers and farms in regards to soil health. This is likely due to the delicate process of farming, which has become very reliant on the use of pesticides and fertilizers to keep up with product demand, as well as combat various natural occurrences to ensure successful crop production. While soil standards are just one example of environmental policy within the United States, it demonstrates how human health and welfare is the foundation for developing and implementing environmental sustainable policies. This concludes my presentation, and attached are my following resources. Thank you for your time.